out there. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Coda Country Chats podcast. And today I have a bit of a phenomenon with me. He is taking over the country scene right now as one of the most up and coming singer songwriters and Gibson guitar artists because he is just incredible guitarist. I can't wait for you guys to hear all about Rocco Gorelik. How are you, Rocco?
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we were talking a little bit before the episode started. Rocco is from north of Atlanta in Georgia. So all my Georgia listeners out there, we got a Georgia boy on the recording today. Tell me what it was like and what it is like growing up where you're from. And tell me a little bit about how you got started making music.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a cool area. I live right on the Chattahoochee. It's like I'm looking out the window. It's right down there. So Alan
Yeah.
Jackson was a big influence. But
Oh,
music wise, I had a guitar that had sat in my room, as it does. And I was just sitting there and eventually I looked at it and I'd always tried. I always knew like three or four chords. But then one day it was like I need to take this serious. I need to take something serious. And I picked it up and I couldn't put it down. I started open mics maybe 6 months into playing, and then I started getting paid, and it all like snowballs into like one big thing, and I haven't stopped.
so, okay. When you talk about it starts snowballing, you start getting gigs. How did you find or how did people find you originally? Because I know,
No.
in this like new age of like technology, social media, blah, 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 I'm sure that it was like pretty easy for people to find such an amazing artist like yourself.
Oh, thank you. But I mean, the first maybe 2 years, it was pretty old school, because I don't think I started an Instagram until 2 years into playing, just to like document. But I would go. We were talking about Georgia. I'd go to downtown Alpharetta, about 20 minutes from my house, and I
Yeah.
had a guitar, and I was maybe 11 or 12, and I would just go ask people what they wanted to hear, and I would play for them for free. And I mean,
Yeah.
I played for a manager of a restaurant right there one time, and she's like, "Will you play my restaurant tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah, I will." And then I just
Oh,
got
wow.
noticed, and I went up to Nashville, and then they're like, "You got to start some social media." So I did that, started putting out some videos. A couple of them did pretty well, and it all
Yeah.
kind of just snowballs. Going back to that word.
Kept going through it. Listeners, if you haven't caught on, Rocco is probably our youngest listener that we've had an interview with so far. Are you still enrolled in like high school? Are you going through all of that? Tell me about how that's working in your music career.
Well, I'm doing it all online now. I'm completely homeschooled. I'm going music full time for me now. But
Cool.
yeah, it's cool because I still have friends that go to school, and I keep up, but I'm pretty
Mhm.
full time music. I got a full time job.
Yes, I was just about to say it's like finding that balancing act is really impressive because it's so tricky these days. But it's nice to have that option of doing everything online and kind of,
hmm
having that is something just that you're going to keep going and having it in your back pocket. Talk to me about how often are you in Nashville? How often do you go back and forth? Because I also see that you play the Battery a
Yeah.
good bit, like on Sundays and stuff like that. Yeah.
So I mean, I went to Nashville for the first time I was 12, and I mean, I didn't want to leave. It's Music City. I didn't want to go.
I
But we go
know.
up there. We go up there a bunch. It was once a month for a while. I'm going back in September. But it's really whenever something happens, whenever they call me, I'll be like, yeah, I'll be there. It's not too hard of a drive. It's about 3.5, 4 hours. It's pretty easy to get.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Is that the goal eventually to move to Music City and kind of be there full time, full time?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to do anything without living there. I feel like once I exhaust all my options here and I can't post videos from here and I can't do everything from here anymore, then it's time to make the move. Pick up the
Yeah, for
bags.
sure. How would you say when you're writing singles or writing, for different songs and projects that have you had a lot of co-writes or a lot of collaborative time with other artists in your area? Have you had any with Nashville artists? Talk to me about that.
Well, this is it's pretty unique, but not really. I mean, writing, it's mostly a me thing. Like I've got 5 songs coming. We've already
Uh-huh.
heard 2 of them. 2 of them are already out,
Yeah.
but they were all just written by me alone in my room. Like there wasn't any help, there wasn't any people. But I'm really interested in doing some co-writes. That sounds great. With some of these big hit makers, they just have like a formula, and it really interests me to see all that. Because I'm just writing. I don't know anything about all that.
No, I think that's incredible that you're all about solo rights. And it's funny because, like, you'll see these song credit lists of, like, 8 different writers, and I'm like, "How do they
Mhm.
fit all of these people on this one song?" I mean, at
Yeah.
some point, the artist is probably just gonna put, like, 1 word in there, and then it's not really their song, but they still get the credit on it. It's crazy to me. But
Yeah, that was, like, the
it's
biggest
fun.
culture shock for me coming into music and figuring everything
Yeah.
out was, like, that these artists are writing their own songs, and I just remember feeling like, you're growing up and you're like, the music, you're like, "Oh, the artist feels it, they made it," but the
Yeah.
industry's changed so much, it's wild.
It is, and there are some artists out there who don't write any of their songs, like,
I know, it's
George
weird.
Strait is one of those that comes to mind
My
immediately,
gosh.
like, you
Because
know what I
I
mean?
remember just listening to these all those records, I still listen to him. It's like, he's my number 1, and I
Yeah,
I can't believe he didn't write any of it, it's wild.
I know, but it's like all of those songs fit him so well. It's like
So well.
he knows himself enough to know that, maybe writing is not his strong suit, yet he knows what sounds good for him. He knows what
Yep.
works for him.
Well, it
But
worked
I
out for
think
him, he's awesome.
You know what I mean? But on the flip flop, it's like now that you're up and coming and starting to emerge as this country artist and you're doing the thing. And it's great that you kind of already have this idea of what sound you want. And I
Mhm,
think as we listen to music that's starting to come out more and more, I don't know, there are a lot of artists whose sound is similar to yours, I would say.
mhm,
So it sounds like you've kind of developed into this own little niche of, you know, the sound that you want.
mhm.
So if you're doing a really good job of writing by yourself and making all these really good songs, I mean, that's something to be applauded for, I would say. I think that's
Thank you,
that's really impressive.
thank
Yes,
you.
for sure. So let's talk about the 2 singles that you have out. Second Changes.
Chances.
Let's talk a little bit chance. Oh, sorry, that was
You're
definitely a
all good.
typo.
Hey, same thing to
Sorry,
me,
don't
all good.
don't tell Nicole. Noel. So, Second Chances. Tell me the inspiration for that song. Tell me where you like, it was there a pinnacle moment that really like kind of catapulted this song into what it is now?
Well, it was interesting because 'cause I'd had the idea down in my phone for a while. I like to keep tabs of my titles, of my ideas, and of my lines, just so I have something to go off of. But they called me 2 weeks before we go into the studio with all these guys to record. They're like, "You might have time for one more song." I'm like, "Okay." So I sit down, and
Okay.
in 30 minutes, this song gets written, and then they're like, "Oh, this should be the lead single." Lead single it is, like, it's wild. It was, like, just a complete
Wow.
spur of the moment thing. It was written in 30 minutes, and it ends up becoming, like, yeah, that one's wild. It's definitely a favorite of mine just for that reason. It's such a fun story.
It's funny. Sometimes I find because I do a little bit of songwriting myself. I find that some of my favorite songs are ones that just fall out. Like there's
Y
not
Always.
any, I don't know what it is. I don't know if the melody just like starts going or if the lyrics just start rambling off and they finally make sense or
Mhm.
what. But it's like sometimes there's that magical moment when you're like, whoa, I just made something really, really good. Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you have a song in your catalog that you would consider like a labor of love song? Meaning like it was not the easiest to write. It was one of those that, like you had to put down and had to come back to and that kind of stuff.
Man. Well, this one it went through a lot of iterations, but, it was pretty similar, but if I had to, like, choose a favorite, it's unheard, never been posted, but if you come out to a live show, you'll hear it. But it's called
Cool.
"Turn Me Loose," and it's, from the perspective of like a Nashville singer getting stuck on playing these same old bars and like going up there to live the dream and the dream not working out and you get stuck playing these like washed up bars and you just want to go home and it's like a really like I think I wrote it man it's been a year which is kind of wild but it's probably one of my favorite I've ever written. I haven't been able to top it but it'll be out soon. I think that might be the next single. We're thinking about it.
Turn me loose. It hasn't been teased. I love that you just told me about that. I love getting the inside scoop on things. So thanks for sharing
Yeah,
that.
you
I
heard it
really
first.
do. Yes. Well, and so when you decided to start singing and writing and playing, which came first? I should have asked this right when you were talking about getting into music. Were you like a singer first, or were you a guitar player and then you're like, "Oh, I probably should start singing too." You know what I mean?
Well, I always knew I could sing a little bit even though it didn't sound too good but I knew I could sing a little bit. But
Yeah.
and then one day I picked up the guitar like I was talking about, and it just came really natural for me to put the chords and sing at the same time. And I mean, genuinely, I couldn't look back. And then writing came last, I think. I had never even thought about it. Like, I wasn't thinking ahead. I wasn't
Mhm.
thinking about a career in music. I was just thinking about doing what I loved, you know? And it like came down to it. And I was like, oh, I need to just start writing. And I did. And writing, I would say, is the hardest for me. Like guitar, singing comes really natural, but writing is something you have to get really vulnerable about and you have to sit there. And I think that would be the hardest for me to execute, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Just and it may be one of those things that's like the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Cause I'm with you on that. I feel like sometimes like for me, I feel like if as a songwriter, coming up with a melody is much easier than coming up with lyrics. Like I can hear
Yeah.
it in my head, but sometimes like finding the words that I want to say to go with
Hmm.
that melody just does not always work out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
A
Let me
good,
let
like,
me ask you this too. Go ahead.
okay. The best sorry, I'm gonna ramble, but the
Oh,
best
good.
songwriting advice I ever got, he was just like we sat down, we were gonna write, and he was like, if you don't put anything on that piece of paper in 10 minutes, the song is dead, you know? Like, if you rest for, like, 10 minutes, he's like, "You just have to keep writing. You have to put out the bad stuff and revise it later." And, I mean,
Yeah.
I must have written, like, 20 songs just off of that advice, you know? Like, it's really, really great
Yeah.
stuff.
That's actually so smart to think about too,
I
because
know.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, if it's just not coming to you, like, you give yourself a time limit, you give yourself like
Mhm.
parameters, and then if it just doesn't work, okay, put it down, try again later. And that's a good
Mhm.
that's a good way to like not get burnt out too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk about your other single that has been released called "Thinking" with Trey
Yep.
Hensley. Talk to me about what it was like working with Trey.
Oh, that's insane. Cause Trey is so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
he's the nicest dude. I saw him, in Decatur, Georgia,
Cool.
maybe 2023, and then I came back and I was like I knew he'd followed me on Instagram, and I was like, "Imma take a wild shot." I was like, "Can I play with you?" And he's like, "Well, of course, you could play." And I was like, "What?" So they came back the next year. I played with him, and I was like, "Worked last time, you know, let's do it again." I was like, he's so
Yeah.
nice. I was like, "Man, would you consider playing on my record and taking a solo?" He's like, "Yeah." I mean, it's just insane. So he sent over them. He's like, "Here's these 2." He's like, "You can pick whichever one you like better." And, you know, it's the best solos I've ever heard in my life. It's, like, insane. So
Oh,
it's wild that it's on my record. He's just, like, such a class act, such a nice dude, and he's got the talent to match. It's insane.
yeah, that's just really cool, especially knowing that like you found them or you found Trey essentially like in your backyard if you think about it, not too
Yeah.
far away from where you live. And I mean, it's pretty cool that you guys connected that way. I think that's
Mhm.
pretty serendipitous in a way. Like I love how stuff kind of works out like that where you just have, one shot and you're like I'm going to take it and
Mhm.
see what happens with it and yeah, oh my goodness. So the debut EP is going to drop before the end of the year. Do you have a specific date that you know of?
Oh, goodness. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm waiting for 2 of the mixes to get back. Ironically,
Yeah.
today, again, more insider information, but
Today.
today they're
Yay.
coming back, and then we just gotta shoot some covers, and we'll get it all going. You know, I'm having to figure this all out on my own. I don't have a label or manager or anything like
Yeah.
behind me, so it's like I'm figuring out how to like release this and use a distributor.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a good experience, you know. It's great.
Yeah. Especially for the debut. If I feel like
Yeah.
just figuring it out on your own kind of puts its own little
Yeah. And
personal
so you
twist
know
in
what it
it.
takes, you know?
Yes, exactly, exactly. And then when you look back on this, like several years from now, when you're selling out stadiums and you've
Oh,
played the Grand Ole Opry like 80 million times, you can be like, wow, that was a lot of work. And now I have a ton of people to help me do this.
well, that's awesome. I like the confidence. It's a great.
Absolutely. I'm just reading it. I'm manifesting it for you. So
Yeah.
I do want to talk about you being a Gibson guitarist, a
Oh
Gibson
my gosh, yeah.
artist. How did that come to be? I would love to know that story.
Oh, I mean, it's just insane because I had they have the G3 mentorship program, right, for the youth around the world. There's like I don't know how many kids, but not that many. And I had applied originally
Wow.
online because it's like my biggest dream to be a Gibson artist. Like my first guitars were Gibsons. Like I bought an old
Wow.
Epiphone off the wall and I bought a Gibson with my gigging money. And I
Oh,
applied and I didn't hear back. And then I followed them on TikTok and I see them post this thing. And I'm not on TikTok very often unless I'm posting. But they're like, there's a wild card position. You have to just say your name, where you're from, and you have to play a solo on your Gibson. And I was like, well, this sounds like something I could do, you know?
yes,
So I did
absolutely.
this. I think it did pretty well. Got a lot of views, and then they were like, "We'll reach out with an email with the winner." I like threw my phone when I saw the email. I lost my mind. I was like, "This is insane." It's like
Yay!
such a
That's so cool.
lifelong like dream, and it's like the biggest guitar company in the world, and like I could just like call them. It's so weird.
And you're self-taught. I think that's such a I don't wanna say a rarity in today's generation because now, like I was saying earlier, there's so many means to, like, finding really good resources out there.
Hmm.
But, like, to be someone who has taught themselves to play guitar and as young as you are, being an artist for Gibson, like, that's a big deal. Oh my gosh, how incredible. That's such a big deal. I'm just gonna keep talking about all your big deal moments. You are the youngest artist to have ever played Whiskey Jam. Talk to me about that experience and what it was like getting an award and all of that. I'd love to know about that too.
That's cool because that's another thing. I could never get into Whiskey Jam when I was younger, and
Right?
honestly, I still
Yes.
shouldn't be able to. But I remember watching the Instagram lives, and it's so great what they're doing now that they've moved over to Broadway. I mean, bringing original music to Broadway is like doing the Lord's work. I mean, that's amazing,
Yes.
and
Exactly.
it's
Yes.
just so fun. Like it's so great to have a stage to perform original music to people that actually want to hear it, and Ward's
I
doing a great
know.
job like creating that community.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. So when was your first time playing there?
Oh, that would be. It was summer of last year.
Wow.
I think it was June or July, May. My dates are mixed up, but it's
Somewhere there.
it's somewhere in those 3 months. It was somewhere there.
Yeah, cool. So with the EP dropping, and a couple more singles on the way, let me what would you say is in your 5-year plan? If you could like drop the chips where they fall and just see what happens, what would you aspire to happen within the next 5 years?
That's a great question. I think one of the bigger things is I want to get on a tour. Like right now, I'm on Luke Bryan's farm tour, playing for the sponsor,
Yay!
and playing backstage and playing on site. But I
Cool.
definitely like to get on opening for a tour, and I'd like to go record an actual album. Because I want to
Yeah.
do an EP first, but I'd like to do maybe like an 8-song album and drop up a couple singles and drop the whole thing. And again, just go back on tour. I do want to taste that road life. I feel like it's
Yeah.
great, and it's like some of the best exposure you can get.
For sure. So with touring that you've done so far, have your parents kind of like gone along with you? Tell
Yeah.
me what that's like.
Yeah. Little brother comes along too. Vinny, he always comes. I mean, it was cool. I was pretty like, I had never been on a plane until Luke Bryan flew me out to California, which is kind of a crazy statement, but I hadn't been out of the Southeast. I was pretty happy where I was, but then they took me out to California and you feel like you're on Mars. It's like a different planet.
Yes, California is like a world in itself.
It was so awesome though.
That's so cool. No, I mean, that's so funny though, because I think, when I think about being on a tour and the farm, like Luke Bryan's done farm tours since I was probably your age.
It's
That's
been a
dating
while.
myself. It's been a while. So yeah, I mean, just to be like in that atmosphere in itself it still feels kind of down home, even if you're, thousands of miles away in California, which I love about Luke Bryan. What are some other artists who you kind of I don't know, find influential or find, that you grab like a lot of your inspiration from, something like that?
Well, we were talking about George Strait earlier, and I feel like
Yeah.
that's really big for me. Other than the
Mm.
guitar playing, he's a great singer. He's a nice guy, and his music is insane. Like it's just so good. And then
Did you
Vince,
see sorry, I don't mean to
you go
interrupt.
ahead, go ahead.
He just was, like, awarded the Kennedy Center Awards, or they did, like, an honor ceremony, and he's, like, one of the first country artists in a really long time to get awarded that, and so I just yay, I'm so glad. But anyway,
Yeah, I
keep
did see
going.
that. And then Vince Gill, because again, class act, nice guy, insane guitar skills. I aspire to be like Vince.
Insane.
And
Yes,
then the voice,
absolutely.
insane. It's just all good. And then the
Yes!
writing, he's like, I was gonna say triple threat, but he's like quadruple threat. He's got it all.
Quadruple that.
He's got everything.
Yes.
And then if we go older, I would go like Merle Haggard, like older
Yeah,
than that.
yeah, yeah. That's so funny because when I was listening to you, you remind me a lot of Vince Gill, right? With his just like traditional, like almost bluegrassy style picking, kind of with like a little bit of Zach Top too, where it's like more neo
Hmm.
traditional. But yeah, that's so interesting that you said Vince Gill because he was one of the ones that came to my mind first.
That's
How
high
cool!
praise. That's amazing. That's what I was going for.
Yay! Well, good. Oh my gosh, Rocco, this has been such a wonderful conversation. Do you, other than the debut EP, do you have anything else that you would like to promote or anyone that you would like to give a shout out to before we hop off our call today?
Just you. Thanks for having me. I think we talked about everything. We're all good.
Yes, we are all good. I really appreciate you taking the time to chit chat with me and listeners out there. If you aren't currently following Rocco Gorelik, please give him a follow. Go listen to his two singles that he has out right now. And he's going to be dropping a debut EP before the end of the year. We can't wait for it. I'm just going to sink my teeth into it as soon as it comes out. Rocco, thank you so much for joining us on the episode today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yes, y'all have a good day. Thank you. Oh.